Welcome to another episode of Staying Power, a show that is all about building a better life, where we explore how to build more resilience, more peace, more purpose in our everyday lives. I am JDK Winnikin.
I'm Ashley Knable. We're actually diving into a topic today that I chose,
Uh-huh.
and it's a good topic. It came to mind, and it was like one I was just like, I bet so many people can actually relate to this. You know, what do you do when it hits that time of the year when you want to relax and just hang out and whatnot, but you have goals and you want to stay committed to them, but you also want to give yourself some time to rest and recharge and rejuvenate yourself.
Oh, yeah.
How do you handle both of those things?
Oh, it's a good one. Yeah, because like with summer vacation starting, right? Sometimes at the winter holidays too, right? Same thing, kind of like 6 months apart, interestingly enough. It can be really easy to let all the good stuff, the vacations, the fun, the rest actually accidentally knock us off track, right? Can happen quite easily. So, but we're here to suggest today that instead of sabotaging your momentum, right? Taking rest and renewal can actually support that momentum of reaching your goals.
Right. It's not just like tell yourself this and that and hope for the best. There's actually tools and practices and things that you can use to help yourself stay on track, but still enjoy your life and have a good time. So
Absolutely.
we're going to explore those.
We're going to explore
Stick around
those
with us.
and we'll share a little bit about how we've experienced these before, both positively and negatively. Lost, gained momentum, supported ourselves, that type of thing. So there's a lot here today about how you can keep moving forward without burning out. So here we are. All right. So Ashley, where did this topic come from? Everybody's going to want to know this right away. And you're right. It was your topic. So how come this came to mind?
That's a great question. I wouldn't say there was anything super particular where I was like, oh, this is happening to me, so I must talk about it. But in general, I was thinking of like, okay, at least here in the Pacific Northwest where we're at currently, the weather is changing. We're starting to go from like the cold to the hot, and all of a sudden indoors becomes outdoors, and your priorities do shift. And maybe I started to notice in my schedule where there was like a lot more people saying, hey, let's go out to this show. Let's go to happy hour. Let's do this, this, and this.
You can walk at 9:00 at night if you want to, because
Yeah,
it's still
right.
light.
Yeah.
Here, right.
And I was like, yeah, I want to do these things. But I'm like, oh, but I usually have my workouts then. And then I was like, well, maybe I won't do this workout. And I haven't seen that friend in a long time. So I'm going to go do that. And then I'm like, but if you keep doing things like that, like, is there a way to still maintain my goals and the things I'm wanting to do, but make time for the things I also want to enjoy and have fun with, like seeing my friends or doing events or whatnot, that won't knock me off my goals? Because, eventually you say yes to so many things, and then you're like, well, it's maybe if working out and staying really fit is important to you, and then all of a sudden, like, you've done happy hour for 8 weeks in a row, and then you're not so fit anymore. As an example.
Hopefully not 8 full weeks in a row. That'd be a lot of happy hours.
That's a happy person. Anyways, so I was thinking that, not to say I did 8 weeks of happy hour, but I mean, like, I was just thinking like, oh yeah, it's like summer is prime time for all these sorts of fun things, going out on the boats and, whatever you enjoy doing. But how quickly within a 3-month span of time, like, you could shatter all the momentum that you have created in the first 5-6 months of the year. And I'm like, there's ways.
There are ways. And I think, tell me what you think of this. The more I thought about this, the more I thought is maybe part of the problem from the very beginning is we tend to think about it as one or the other, all or nothing. We either have to stay driving towards our goals relentlessly with no rest and renewal, or we really just got to pull the plug and renew, rest, get away, and not move forward. It's like we choose one or the other. I think we're both suggesting here today, or going to suggest, that it's both. You can integrate the two. Right. And for longtime listeners of the show, you're not going to be surprised that we're using words like integration because that's what we talk about a lot on here. Okay. So, well, and what I like about this topic, Ashley, is trying to blend these things together really is resilience, right? Which is the cornerstone of this show, right? Resilience is not about just holding on. It's not grinning and bearing it, right? Or just pushing through all obstacles at the expense of everything else. It's actually about how to pull all these things together and live a better life with all of these things. So that integration, I think, is key. What came up for me, and you're going to not be surprised by this, Ashley.
Okay. Don't surprise me.
I wanted to see what all the different theories were out there in psychology and in neuroscience and things like that on how we can do that. Because we like to, for those of you who are new listeners, you'll be new to this, but longtime listeners know we really want to base what we're talking about in one fundamental principle. We have the skills inside of us to do this. We have the
Mhm.
makeup. Our bodies are designed for this. We have the physiology. We have the neurology. We have the plasticity of our brains. These are all things that we can actually learn to do. We just have to learn how to tap into them. And that's kind of what you and I do a lot of in our coaching
Mhm.
with clients and in our conversations with each other, as a matter of
Right.
fact. So I was looking into this, and the American Psychological Association really emphasizes for this particular dilemma that you put out something called the psychological resilience theory. Okay, that has 5 factors.
Mm.
Okay, so here are the 5:
Give them to me.
realistic planning,
Okay.
self-confidence,
Oh,
impulse regulation.
that's a thing.
Yeah, you and I could talk about that. Self-esteem
Uh-huh.
and problem solving.
Mm.
All of those things within the realm of familiarity, I think, for all of us, of at least of things that we know are important,
Mhm.
right? We all know that planning for things realistically helps. Having self-confidence is a good thing. Impulse regulation is helpful. Self-esteem, that's a positive. Problem solving, also a plus, right? So those things taken together
Uh-huh.
is how do we do that? Because resilience is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, stress, right? And it's not something that we either have or we don't have. It's a set of behaviors, thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed over time.
That's really comforting to know because I think I've at least I've been in conversation with people before where they maybe not come right out and said like I have no resilience because they wouldn't want to admit something like that, but they're like I don't feel like I have the ability to do something like that. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, I've never had it or I don't think I was born with it. I'm like, it's not actually something you're born with. The great thing is like you can exercise it. It's like a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start to recognize what it looks like and how you can practice it, then obviously the more you practice it, the better your resistance or resilience can be
Mm-hmm.
for these things. But in that impulse control, that makes me laugh.
You make it sound like you're like just
I
completely
know. I'm
impulsive,
like,
and you're
I'm not saying the shoe fit. It
Yeah,
just
right.
made me laugh. But because that can be a thing, because you might need to regulate
Mhm.
something like that. And actually, that could also, maybe this is profound for me with that one because of the fact that usually this time of year there is a lot of spontaneity.
Spontaneity.
Am I saying it wrong?
Spontaneity was a good word, though. I like it.
Is that? Anyways, enjoy.
I
But
like it. I like it. Spontaneity. I'm writing that
is
down.
that not a word?
It-
Oh my gosh.
It might be,
I don't know. JD's gonna find out for me because
but
he
I
would know
like
all
it.
about it. Thanks.
It's an Ashleyism for today. Go ahead.
Great.
No, I see
Um,
what you mean. It's spontaneous.
Yes, because this time of year, that's when a lot of that stuff happens.
Yeah.
A lot. And if you're especially one who like impulsively agrees to things like that without thinking them through of like, how is this going to affect my current plans and the inertia I have set for myself already
Yeah.
in the last few
In motion.
months?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to just kind of keep that in check. And it's okay to like pause and be like, you know what? Let me check if I can say yes to that. Hold that thought.
Mhm.
And then check in with yourself.
Yeah, and it's so tough, right? Because this time of year, particularly up here, it's sunny,
Mm-hmm.
it's warmer. And so a friend calls up and you have these plans, you have something you know you want to work on, you need to be moving forward, and somebody says, "Hey, a group of us are going to such and such.
Yeah.
You should join us." It can be really easy to go, "Yep, I'm going to go do that." Now,
Mhm.
if you can do that and feel good and be like, "You know what? I'm glad I did. I hadn't seen my friends. I need to get out there and rest. I get back to this later." Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what we're talking about. But then it becomes more of if you keep doing that,
Yes.
when
Well,
does
and
it become a problem?
You can also, make the decisions of you're constantly up late at night. So now you're like sleeping in the mornings or on the weekends. And then everything that you plan to do is starting to get delayed and delayed. And then they don't happen. And that can then just domino effect into, without realizing it very quickly, of like, how did I get so far away from where I wanted to be?
Yeah.
One decision at a time.
Right. And so it's kind of the realistic planning piece here would perhaps be something like, Ashley, what I think of is, those things are going to come up.
Mhm.
So if you intentionally go, okay, here's the thing I'm going to do. That may happen a number of times. I'm going to allow myself to do that a couple of times this next month. If something spontaneous comes up, somebody a last minute thing and says, "Hey, do you want to do this?" and I really want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to allow myself to do it without second guessing it.
Absolutely.
Do that a couple of times. But then once you've done it, you can hold yourself to that,
Mm-hmm.
standard. Or,
I like that.
right. Or then if the third one comes up,
Oh no.
And you can go, if you can then pause and go, you know what, can you give me like an hour
Mhm.
to figure this out, or just a few minutes to figure out whether I can do this? See where you can make an adjustment
Mhm.
later on to keep doing something like that, keep pushing towards your goal.
I
That's
do like that.
realistic planning.
That's good. Well, and I like that too because if you've already decided, yeah, I'm gonna, grant myself the superior fun of going on 2 different events or outings or whatever, then you can fully feel confident and you feel no guilt about it
Mhm.
because you're like, "No, I already decided I'm gonna do these things." Or if you are starting to feel like you get these spontaneous invitations in the afternoon or the evening and you're like, I was going to work out or I was going to work on my homework or whatever it is that you got going on. Maybe see if you can reorient your schedule so you get up an hour earlier in the morning. It's like I'm going to do my workout in the morning so that way if I get an invitation in the afternoon, I can say yes cuz I already did my workout.
Oh,
Or
see,
whatever you
that's
normally
good.
have your plans in the morning or however that works. If you feel like the weekend might get totally taken from some fun, because of an invitation for something, then maybe try and fit some of the chores and things you were going to do on the weekends through the
Mhm.
week. So that way it allows you to say yes
Mhm.
fully, being like, I already did my stuff.
Yep.
This is great. Let's
Yep.
do it.
Yeah, that's great. That's one that I use quite a bit. When I
Mm-hmm.
know that I have a kind of a unpredictable schedule in an afternoon coming up, or the potential for that,
Mm-hmm.
I'll move the things I know I need to do, like my workouts, to the morning.
Smart.
Yeah, and it works really well when I do it. Like there's times where I intend to do it and it doesn't happen for whatever reason. I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done that. And then I feel like I've lost some of that momentum.
Hmm.
Okay, so those are some examples there. Now, another one of this is a little tricky. Positive self-view and confidence. Those can be really tough for us to just say, yeah, have a positive self-view and confidence. Be more confident, right?
Uh-huh.
So what do you suggest, Ashley, if that's a challenge, because that can get in the way. It's like, oh, I don't feel real good about losing momentum, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I can go out and do something spontaneous with my friends. What do you suggest for building that positive self-view and confidence? How would you pitch it to people on how to include that in this process?
Of having the confidence to be able to say yes to
Feeling
something.
that, or just in this process of being able to integrate these things, the things you have to do and the things you want to
Hmm.
do.
One day at a time. Well, because I mean, we're basing this all on an unknown factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of you want to do these things, but you need to do these. You have a need and a want. And I think it's okay that they both can happen. And I
Mm-hmm.
think telling yourself, first of all, like, this is life.
Yeah.
First of all, let's just enjoy it
Yeah.
because why not? We're here. And if
We got one of them.
you've only got one shot at it, so you might as well make it amazing. Uh, and you don't know how long you're here. And I know that's kind of cliche to say, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you feel like you've got something really fun to do, you're like, I feel like this is going to make a really positive impact, especially if it's a good thing where it's
Right.
like you're going to go with your friends to like, I don't know, like I would do like an 80s nightwave show and I'm going to go dance all night, which is great exercise. It's great music. It's with my friends. Positive, positive, positive.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, and these are my own morality ethics coming out, but versus going out and having a full night at like a bar somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still fun. You might be going with your friends, whatever, but my health is sincerely going to decline because of probably what I'm
You're drinking.
having,
Right,
right?
right, right.
And then I'm going to be hungover the next morning and I'm going to sleep in and whatnot. So it's like sometimes it's also evaluating what is it that you're doing.
What's the
Is
best
it
kind of fun and renewal that can
yes.
support that? Right.
And I might be like, oh, I didn't do my workout, but I'm going to go out dancing tonight. That's still a workout.
Right.
And it's actually probably good for your soul to go out with friends and be in a good public place with good people.
Well, that's key, right? Social connections matter a lot. And all these things we're talking about, social connections can matter with them. We problem solve better when we're talking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We build our self-esteem better when we talk with people who can relate to what we're feeling and can reinforce that. We can build our self-confidence by talking about it, helping with that, and making better choices, asking for help with that. So all those things fit together. I love that answer. I think that's great. Not all activities are created equal when it comes to what can help you
Yeah.
with continue to pursue your goal. So
You put that really well. Not all activities are
are
created
created
equal.
equal, right. All right, so now let's get to the one you're laughing about, impulse control. That is, it's kind of inherent what we were just talking about, right? You have to not just do everything that comes right in front of you. You want to be intentional about evaluating it and not just bowing to the impulse. So like for me, what would be an easy one? If someone reaches out to me and says, I have an extra ticket to the baseball game tonight. Can you go? My impulse right away is to go, yes, I'm coming. Now, what I don't think about right away is that's going to cost me time. That's going to cost me money. It's not going to have the best food choices for me. And that the part of me that matters a lot. I want to take really good care of what I put into my body, but I also love a beer and a hot dog at a baseball game. Right.
Yes,
So I have to
you do.
evaluate those things. So that could be tough. Why impulse control for you? What comes up?
Oh, snap. Usually if somebody offers me like donuts, not always, but usually I'm like, oh, uh, just saying. I know, actually, if people are like, let's go out wine tasting or something of that,
sure.
that's always like a default. I want to say yes because I really
Mhm.
enjoyed that entire experience.
Mhm.
But it's not always in my best interest to do so.
Well, I think the thing for me that was a challenge once upon a time in the world of addiction where I used to be in, impulse control was not a thing. You just went where your impulses, you just engaged with them. It was just
Mm-hmm.
that simple, whether they were destructive or not. So for me, this one really matters, right? This is a big
Sure.
question. But here's the thing: the challenge can be is sometimes we have this fear of missing out, right?
They call it FOMO for a
right?
reason.
If we, as if somehow another baseball game isn't going to come up again,
Yeah, right.
or
Yeah.
another wine tasting opportunity is not going to come up again. That can be a challenge, and so we're worried about those things. If we can take a step back, and that's part of where the planning, realistic planning, comes in. Going, things are going to come up, and I want to allow myself a certain amount of opportunities. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That could be a good way for that. But it's also to recognize too that sometimes we are going to give in to those impulses, and go, oh, that wasn't necessarily the best choice. So then rather than beat ourselves up about it, go, okay, where did that come from? Why was it so easy for me to do that? What did I sacrifice and why?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I get back on track?
Right.
Right.
Well, sometimes I think you can take an invitation, and if the person, depending on what it is, maybe reframe what it is. So if it's like my friends being like, hey, let's go out happy hour, maybe instead of going out and having a bunch of beverages and probably not great food, it's why don't we go for a walk
There you
and
go.
then go do this, this, or this, change it. So I'm still hanging out with these people, still going to have a great time, but do something that's also good for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's an easy one to do too. It's like, hey, I can't join you tonight, but could you meet me for lunch tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Take advantage of that, or set up the next thing. I can't go this time because I got to do these things, or I'm choosing not to go this time because I have these things to do. I would love to set something up with you for next week, because then you can integrate that into things. So that engages in realistic planning and also in creative problem solving, which is another one of those things.
Love that.
There we go. Okay. All right. So when we come back from our first break here on Staying Power, we will dig into some other methods, some other things about this whole balance thing that we're shooting for that Ashley brought up this week. And of course, later in the show, we have our weekly segment. This week, it is the 2 Minutes of Terror. So you want to stick around for that coming up in a bit. But we will be back in just a minute, and we'll see you on the other end here on Staying Power.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests, on the Diaspora Show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
Statistics show that roughly 20 veterans die by suicide every day in the United States. Canines for Warriors is the leading nonprofit organization providing highly trained service dogs to veterans with PTSD and other invisible wounds of war. Backed by scientific research, Canines for Warriors has transformed the lives of more than 1,000 veterans, helping them reclaim their independence. To find out more, please visit caninesforwarriors.org.
Self-help, healing, spirituality, and more on Alternative Talk, 1150.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hi.
And so happy to have you along today as we're talking about how you can balance all the desire and the real need for rest and renewal at times like this, while also still making sure you are pursuing all the goals and the growth that you're looking for in life. And we're really happy to have you here with us today. And just a quick reminder, if you end up missing any of this episode, and or would like to catch up on other episodes of Staying Power, you can get this as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a live stream on our YouTube channel, so you can actually watch this and see what this looks like here in the studio. And in the show notes, both wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, as well as at our website at our radio home, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle, you can find all the information about Ashley and myself and how to reach us, including our email, stayingpowershow@gmail.com, as well as links to our social media feeds. And we would love to hear from you. So there we go. So we are back. So Ashley,
Yeah.
you used a word. You made up a word that actually we were laughing about, spontaneity, last segment. And I kind of laughed at it and you laughed at it. But I realized in the middle of the segment that actually you were blending together two things that really work for what we're talking about.
Was I?
I think you were blending the words spontaneity and ingenuity. And you
Oh,
came up with
snap.
spontaneity,
Spontaneity.
which if you think about the things we were talking about, being spontaneous and also planning and thinking ahead and being intentional, that's ingenuity. That blends them together. So
I knew there's a reason
spontaneity.
I was on this show.
Because, yes, you are propelling the English language
I'm
and
just- you know what?
philosophy forward.
Webster, call me.
Nicely done. So
Thank you.
spontaneity. So remember that, everybody. I think it'll be a good tool. So
I
we're gonna
like
keep-
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
well done. I also might have felt a little bad for calling you out on that. in the middle of the
It's
show.
okay. I mean, this is nothing like short of being real on the radio.
This is true. This is true. Okay, so Ashley, one of the things you and I are big on is practical ways that people can practice doing some of these things on their own rather than us just talking about it philosophically, even though that has importance. What can people do to dig into this? And so I thought in this segment, we could talk a little bit about the somatic side of this and where the brain and the body meet up on this. Because I'm sure some listeners are going, okay, those are those 5 things that in positive resilience psychology that I can do. How do I do all that? It's not nearly as difficult sometimes as we make it out to be, right? We don't have to figure out everything in our heads. We can actually try things out in our bodies, and that somatic experience of this. So let me ask you a question on this. Okay. When you have an emotional response to something,
Mm-hmm.
are you aware of how you feel in your body before you realize you're having the emotional experience, or does it come afterwards normally?
Ooh, I feel like I noticed it after.
After. Can you think of an example? I know I'm
Yes.
putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead.
When I get really upset or frustrated, all of a sudden I feel very warm.
In your face or like,
Yeah, like on my my chest and kind of like up my neck through my face.
you get
Feels
upset.
like fire.
Feels like fire?
Feels like fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does what
Not
el-
like terrible, but like I feel heat. I'm like,
Okay, so you feel that
Really,
temperature.
yeah.
Do your muscles clench like in your neck or your shoulders or your arms?
not that not that I've noticed. I normally feel like my heart's starting to pick up its pace.
Okay.
Like I'm in preparation for a fight.
Gotcha.
something.
Well, yeah, that's the fight or flight
Yeah.
freeze system, right? So when you get that flush feeling, do you like start sweating? Can you see it? Like if you were looking in a mirror, would you
Oh,
see?
people will tell me I get so flustered, like very red,
Mm,
and they're like, "She is very upset."
She-
Whoa.
Gotcha. Okay, but
Yeah.
you're not aware of that until you're already in the mode where you're like, I'm
Yeah.
upset.
Because there's sometimes people have told me like, "Are you upset right now?" And I have no idea why they ask that, and then
Okay.
they're like, "You're all like red." I
Okay.
was like, "Oh,
Okay. Now, what about when you can tell that you're feeling a bunch of stuff, but you can't identify what it all is? Do you spend time? Are you kind of going, I want to figure out what I'm feeling right now, or do you feel something in your body that tells you, gives you a sense?
Usually I feel something in my lower gut, as people say it, your lower abdomen,
Mhm.
and it just feels like yuck. Like it doesn't feel it's not upset like an upset stomach. It
Mhm.
just feels really uncomfortable, and like something's heavy there, and it's like
Mhm.
I want to just do something to distract myself so I don't notice it anymore. When
Mhm.
I now choose, that was back in the day, but I now choose to actually sit with it and just kind of let it do its thing. And then I realize I'm just feeling some sort of emotion, and then eventually it'll,
Okay.
go away.
Okay. Similar for me. Like for me, sometimes things can happen and I realize I'm having a somatic reaction after I'm already aware of the feeling I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
When I get upset, like the way you're describing it, my stomach clenches, right? Just the pit of my stomach clenches. My shoulders hunch, right? Come forward.
Mhm.
And every muscle in my back and my hands clench, and my hands will clench.
Really?
Yeah, my hands will clench.
Interesting.
And that is a powerful set of feelings. And so like sometimes when I've been in situations where I've been really upset, later on I can feel almost sore, probably because I've had all those chemicals pumping through my body, through my muscles. But that can happen. And then when I'm really, really happy,
Mhm.
the flushing thing happens for me. Like I just get
Yeah?
red. Yeah, I get red when
Oh,
it's
I
pretty
think
fun.
they call that blushing.
They don't. But it's not really blushing though. I guess it could be.
I don't know, maybe.
I guess it could be.
Anyways,
But-
sorry, not to make you blush, but
No, it's all right. The takes a little more than that actually. Okay, now the reason why I bring this up is what I'm talking about is something called interoception, right? Interoceptive things. We talk about this in coaching all the time.
Right.
And this essentially is an internal sense that helps us, the more we hone it, help us feel and interpret the signals our bodies are giving us.
yes.
And yes, a lot of us feel it after we're already aware of what we're feeling. We're upset, we're happy, we're scared. We feel it afterwards. Interoception is about the process of learning how to read those, feel them before something
Mhm.
happens, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a sixth sense.
Yes. I have an example of that
Yeah, yeah.
actually. And it is one I deal with like every day commonly. Is I know, when I'm really stressed, I'm going to clench my jaw really tight.
Okay.
To the point that now it has started to cause me like problems, and now I actually have to actively take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know when I'm like at work or I'm in some sort of situation and I'm starting to realize this is getting more tense, this is getting more stressful, I now recognize like you're going to start clenching your jaw, you're going to start grinding your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think these things and I'm like, okay, just, open your mouth a little bit,
Soften.
like soften your mouth, that type of thing. And I do that actively now because otherwise I'll catch myself later and like my jaw will be super sore and it'll start popping and all these things. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I have now started to recognize like whenever I'm going to be in a situation that is going to elicit that, to prepare ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how do you prepare ahead of time?
I recognize the fact that I'll be in a situation like that. And when it
Gotcha.
comes up, I'm like, soften your jaw. Just keep telling yourself or check
Breathe.
in with yourself,
Mhm.
breathe, soften, and either drink some water, do something else to distract myself from that.
Mhm. Yeah, water's a good one,
Uh-huh.
right? Because putting water and breathing, right, is putting
Mhm.
those things into our system that actually helps our blood system kind of regulate a little bit more, keeps us out of the stress mode, can
Mhm.
reduce that. Yeah, and in case this sounds to listeners that this isn't something inherent, it actually is in some ways, depending on how you think about it. When you get thirsty, that's the first sign that you're headed towards dehydration if you don't drink something.
It's very
so
true.
so what do you do? And hungry, right? You get
Mhm.
hungry because you need nourishment for your body to do what it wants to do. And
Yes.
so you can be like, oh, I'm getting hungry, I better get a snack,
Mhm.
right? So we have those things. We can recognize them. What we're talking about, of course, those are physiological, strictly those things. You need water, you need food in order to keep living, right?
Mhm.
What we're talking about are the somatic things emotionally that we can pick up on. So I would think, Ashley, if you've been in a situation where you recognize your jaw is starting to clench,
Mhm.
that might tell you, oh, I'm getting stressed about something. Let me not be, what is it? Does that happen too?
Yes.
Okay.
Or you wake up with it, and then it turns out
Mhm.
I was clenching my jaw all night because I was stressed about
Right.
something.
Right. And so actively in engaging in interoception is the type of thing that you can start to notice these signals, right? So I have a couple of tells that I'm restless that I've started to notice.
Hmm.
When I start tapping a pen or tapping my fingers on something
Mhm.
or my leg
Mhm.
where I'm sitting somewhere, I'm restless about something. I'm
Interesting.
undecided about something. It tells me
Ooh.
I'm not settled and I'm not present.
Really?
Yes.
I'm going to take note of these
Yes.
things.
So I can pick up on that pretty quickly. If I find myself pacing around in my house doing stuff, right,
Mhm.
busy or somewhere else, and I keep going somewhere and not sure why I was there, that tells me I'm also restless and I'm not present.
And it's not old age. Okay.
Not yet. Oh, shit, get the old crack in. That's because I called out spontaneity, isn't it? Okay. All right.
I
We're
didn't
even
say
now.
anything.
No, it's all right. We're even now. That's okay. Can roll with that. The jaw clenching one is a big deal. Now, why does this matter so much? Well, we were laughing about regulation and impulse control,
Mhm.
right? the more we can recognize that our bodies are not reacting solely. In fact, oftentimes they're giving us information before the emotional situation hits us.
Mhm.
Rather than being a response to the emotional situation, they can actually tell us what's coming. They can actually tell us where we are. And if we learn how to do that, we can better integrate these things and not fall prey to impulse, quick impulses, right? Not fall prey to beating ourselves up or having lower self-confidence. It can actually be something that tells us where we are.
Mhm.
And so that we can then take that step back. What's my intentional response to this? And in the end, what that does, that leads to better self-regulation, more resilience. So
I like it.
yeah, so I would ask listeners to be thinking about and just noticing throughout the week, what are the tells you've got? What's your body telling you when you feel something? Is it suggesting that maybe you're restless, maybe you're upset, maybe you're lonely, maybe you're scared, maybe you're happy? Just notice those things maybe before, and if you notice something like, wow, I am feeling that and I don't know what that's about. Ta-da, you've just trained yourself a little bit
Mhm.
on that. It's pretty cool.
Well, and I will say I've picked up on something that you, I believe, have been doing for a very long time. And I'm always like, "Ugh, I wonder what that's like
What's that?
going for walks."
Oh, yeah.
I know it sounds so like ridiculous and basic. However, I have found when I am stressed
Mhm.
or I am in a situation where I'm like, I need a break. And most times people naturally grab for their phone and start scrolling on the social medias or for whatever reason decide to read the news
Not a break.
and things like that. Exactly. That's actually not a break. That's just more inundation of things that are going to give you large emotional responses. And it's
Mhm.
not helping to regulate you at all.
Mhm.
And so I have actively taken steps, no pun intended, of not not grabbing my phone. I know I'm on one today.
Well done.
Not grabbing my phone, but going for a walk, putting my phone down and not, not even listening to like a podcast while I'm walking, just trying to be really present, getting in some good oxygen. I don't care what the weather is. Movement, getting yourself out of the state of where you were in before, mentally and physically and emotionally and everything. And there's so many benefits to it. And it's so simple and it doesn't cost anything.
Nope.
And I have noticed after starting to do that, I feel like it has really helped reduce my stress.
Yeah. I'm sure you're a lot more
Yeah.
aware of your body's tells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, because you said you go for walks
Every day.
like as long as I've known you. You're like, yep, I go for these walks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, sounds great.
4 to 5 miles a day
Yeah.
is what I
It's
do.
fantastic.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference. And for me, it's part of the fitness regimen as well, because there's no other activity that's better for weight loss, for example, than walking on a regular basis. Right. That's great. I love that. I love that. And you're just kind of spending time with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for the inspo.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. One thing I've been doing a lot lately that you could probably add to a walk, I've been doing it on my walk, is paying attention rather than asking myself the question, how am I feeling? What am I feeling? And kind of going through my head on that. I'll scan my body as I walk. Where do I feel tension? Is there something in, not just is there something in my shoe, because that's a pain, right? But like, oh, my knees are a little sore, or my lower back is sore, or I'm feeling hotter in my hands than I am in my shoulders, or my face, I got my face all scrunched up. What is that about? Noticing those body scans, if something feels unique in a given moment, like, okay, I'm noticing that. That's your body telling you something.
Yes.
You don't have to figure out what it is, but just noticing that that's telling you something and wondering, is that stress? And then saying, what would happen if I softened that stressful spot? What happened if I paused and kind of, rubbed that sore muscle, right? Or stretched a little bit? How would that change the feeling in that spot? How does that change my sense of self? Doing those on walks can be really good too, particularly if you're not listening to something that's distracting.
That's really fascinating because if you think about it, your entire body is made up with living things. Not just you're the living thing, but everything, every fiber, every cell, everything is a living thing in you. And they all will speak when they need something.
They will. Just like they do when we're thirsty and hungry.
Mm-hmm.
That's our cells telling us they need nourishment.
Start noticing you're getting sick. Your body's like, hello, need some extra support here.
Yep, exactly. Those things are there. So they're wired in. We're just talking about being more intentional about broadening out our awareness of those signals the body might be giving us before we know what's actually happening. Kind of an early warning system. in a way.
Right. If
Right.
you pay attention.
Right, exactly. Okay, well, that's good. So those are some things that we can do. When we come back from our second break, we're going to talk about even more practical things that you can do to kind of balance these things out. And of course, when we come back, we will do our weekly segment. This week, it's the 2 Minutes of Terror. So stick around and join us again in a minute here on Staying Power.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdman. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
Don't ask me to talk.
There's a lot of talk out there. Political talk, sports talk, girl talk, trash talk, and so on. But there's only one, Don't Ask Me to Talk, helmed by conversational off-roaders and podcast pals Eric Ryder and Stacy Heller. They follow every tangent they encounter, from cultural blind spots to their infamous weekly Wheelo topics. Listen wherever you listen to your fave podcasts. Subscribe and share too. Or tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. or Tuesday at 4 p.m. on KKNW.
Get your daily dose of variety. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
And we were talking about ways to make sure that you can renew and relax and do all the fun things that summer can offer and still not lose momentum on the goals that you have for building a better life for yourself. So we're really talking about integrating these things together. We've talked a lot about emotional integration, about being intentional. Ashley invented a new word, spontaneity, that combines spontaneity and ingenuity, and it really, really works well.
Thank you.
It's really good. I like it a lot.
Awesome.
I'm going to put it on a Post-it note, put it around somewhere. Have spontaneity. Anyway, we're going to continue with some practical ways you can be implementing sort of more of these balancing practices into your life here in the last segment. But first, we have to do our weekly segment where Ashley and I each take a couple of minutes to talk about something that happened during the past week that either brought us terror or triumph, all in the name of being vulnerable, being open, and having all of you relate to us a little bit more. So this week's, it is 2 minutes of terror. Here we go. All right.
I
Very
feel
good.
like it's been so long we've done it. I almost forgot what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, it's always
Very
good to be a
spooky.
reminder. So, all right, Ashley, you always
Anyways.
get to go first.
Oh,
so
gee, thanks.
go ahead.
Well, okay, mine's not so terrorizing, but it kind of just was a little bit of like, oh, sad.
Mhm.
My time in a business networking group that I have been a part of for the last few years, who I've gotten to know some really incredible individuals and business people that have made a huge impact on my life. You are one of them.
Mhm.
That's how we met.
Mhm.
I am no longer in that group.
Yeah.
My time there has closed, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden I'm like, I just feel like I have lost contact with so many people like in an instant.
Mm.
And I mean, I could certainly reach out and I can make some summer plans with these people, but there was something
you have
about,
actually. I already
and
did.
I already am working on it.
Right.
But there was something about it that I was like, this is a
Mhm.
bummer.
hmm Yeah. And just to be clear, everybody, she didn't get kicked out. Okay.
Oh
It
no,
was-
I just, they did not want me to leave.
No, we did not want her to leave.
My life has grown substantially so
Ah,
much that now I'm like, I've outgrown it.
And you know what? It was
Not
the right.
through it.
It was the right move based on
Yeah.
all the circumstances that aren't important going over here. But it made sense. It is a bummer though. It's not the same without you there. I'll tell you.
Kind
That.
of sad. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
But I like that you've really reached out and you've connected with people and things like that. So there's a lot that's going to continue from that for you.
Thank you.
So, and if nothing else, we met in here and here we are.
I know.
Staying
Look what
Power.
it brought
So
me.
Worked out
Brought
all
us
right for both
so
of us.
far.
Love that. Okay.
What you got?
Well, I haven't talked about this with a whole lot of people, including you. But my terror for
What?
this past week was I've had some recent health challenges that I had to confront that I didn't say much about because I didn't really know what to say about them.
Okay.
And I didn't want to share it with a whole lot of people until I knew what was happening and what wasn't happening. And here's the most important part. Everything's okay. Everything's all right.
Great.
Everything's okay. That's what matters the most. I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but
Hmm.
everything is okay. Got everything checked out. I'm good to go. The corrective things that needed to be done were done, and I feel pretty good. But
Great.
it did prevent me from being able to do some things I wanted to do, to take some trips and things like that. So it prevented that. But that's okay. But it was the terror of it was recognizing that as a 51, almost 52-year-old man, these types of things are probably going to be happening a little bit more
Oh, you're
going
like,
forward.
These are normal now.
Yeah, and it's not so much the specific thing. I want to be really clear, right? This is not something that I was losing sleep about or anything like that. It's just some stuff I had to get some answers on. And I did. Positive, things are okay. But that's the terror is like, man, the aging thing, Ashley, is spooky. It just kind of picks up, right? And when you get into, all of a sudden you get into your 50s and it seems like it starts happening more. Or maybe just feels that way a little bit more because
It may be. I mean, you did say once, and I think you really hit the hammer on the head. Hit the nail on the head. Where are my words today? Hit the nail on the head with the hammer. Got it. Is that there is no book for aging.
No.
There's no how-tos.
There's none.
It's just you go through it and help you make it to the other side.
Yeah, there's none. There's none. And at the same time, with that, I have a whole lot of appreciation for the health that I do have,
Mm-hmm.
and appreciation for people who know how to guide people from, through these types of things, and people that I probably should do a better job of sharing these things are with when they're happening. That is something I tend not to do. It's a character trait that I have that I want to change. I want to be more open about health stuff with people. And for whatever reason, I find that challenging.
Really?
So, yeah, I do.
Well,
do.
thanks for sharing.
You're
today.
welcome. Everything's good. All right. So with that in mind, let's get back to what we were talking about. Specific practices to integrate more balance is really what
Mhm.
we're talking about, right?
Right.
Spontaneity, fun, renewal. It's that time of year. Vacations are coming up. And yet we have the things that we're pursuing, short-term, medium-term, long-term.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be one or the other, how to balance them. So let's talk about some specifics, Ashley. The APA lists out a whole bunch of these. American Psychological Association, things that you can do. Obviously, we've mentioned a few: physical activity, problem solving, social connections has come up a lot, journaling, right? You can write all those things down. What are some things you like to engage in that you think would be helpful that fit from this
Ooh.
list?
I particularly like to check in with myself, maybe before or actually after is the best time, I think, of how I'm doing. If I'm out enjoying myself and having a good time with something, check in with myself like, does this still feel really good to me?
Mm.
Or have I had enough and I can call it a night and go home and be fine?
Mm.
Because there are times where I'm like, I'm having so much fun. I don't want the night to end, but I'm like, I'm also really tired and I know what's best for me. And if I need to maintain my health, I probably should go home and sleep.
Ah.
So checking in with myself, actually, even though you're having a good time, you still need to make sure that your good time is still okay with your body too.
Mhm. That's what's called mindful pausing. Did you know that?
I do now.
You do now.
Mindful
pausing. That's a
pausing.
thing. You doing that.
And impulse control and all these things.
Exactly. You're
Wow.
better at this stuff than you give yourself credit for, by the
Oh.
way. For me, a basic, a quick breath, deep breath.
You are very much about the breathing.
I am.
You're so into this man is so in tuned with breathing and his body and where he finds and feels things. It's incredible how in tuned you are.
Thank you. It's helpful.
really-
It's helpful. And it's still a practice for me. It doesn't always happen. But breathing, I sometimes catch myself. That's one of the first things I notice when we're talking about interoception.
Mm-hmm.
I can notice when I'm breathing shallow or not breathing or holding my breath.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, okay, that's something.
Interesting.
And then what I do is I kind of let it go and I just observe my breath. And as we talked about last week, when you just observe where your breathing is and don't fight it, don't try and shorten it, don't try and lengthen it, body takes over and you begin to breathe more evenly. Things open up, things calm down a little bit more. So that's kind of, I guess you could call it micro breathing. Like I just take a breath, go, okay, type of thing. I'll even do it when I'm on the phone with somebody, when I'm listening to somebody and somebody's sharing something with me and I really want to be present and I know that I'm distracted or I'm in the middle of a busy day. I'll sometimes take a breath in the middle of the conversation just to kind of bring myself right back to center. So there's things like
I
that.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
What are some other ones?
I think it's really good to pair progress making with some scheduled restorative play and fun.
Ah,
rewards.
okay. What's
You
that
don't
look
want
like?
it to be so jarring that like your dopamine's all over the place with it. But
Mhm.
I think there is something really good about knowing like, okay, I'm going to put in all this effort and I'm really going to work hard towards this, and you should reward yourself.
Yeah.
And I hope it's a reward that does well for you,
Mm-hmm.
that is good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Take it as you will, make it what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a firm believer in rewarding yourself for the small wins
Yeah.
along the way as you're reaching the large win.
Mm-hmm. And know what it is before you do it. Like, I'm going to
Mhm.
reward myself with this thing on
Yeah,
the other end. Okay.
it's really encouraging. And some people may think like, oh, well, that's what the goal is the reward. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I think it's okay to reward yourself while you're reaching
Yeah.
your goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, are you saying, like, set a certain plan? I'm going to go work out for 90 minutes and then I'm going to reward myself with something on the other end? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, you could do something like that. I mean,
Probably not with a donut, right?
I mean, probably not every time. Maybe if you hit your workouts for a solid month and you're like, cool,
Donut.
time for that donut.
There you go. So I like that. And you've set that up in advance.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
You
I
know,
like that.
that's an example. I'm not out here eating donuts all the time, people, but just saying.
I mentioned donuts because you said that's one that can
Well,
jump
I
up on
do
you.
like them.
Donuts are good. Yeah.
Especially-
I like that kind of built-in renewal awareness,
Yeah.
right? And rewards. Yeah, I think that's a big one. We even mentioned one top of the show, right? Know that spontaneous things are going to come up, and give yourself a count for the week or for the month. How many times will you do that? And or if you're going to make the adjustment, where can you adjust later on, right? Rather than just jump in and say yes. Say, I want to do this. Let me figure out a couple things. I'll get back to you. And if you can make it work and you
Smart.
feel good after a few minutes, because I've always said if something's a good idea right now, it'll probably be a good idea in an hour or a day
Mhm.
or two, right? It's depending on the time frame where you have to make a decision. But I can feel that too sometimes. Like, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. Reward that. But that's the problem is depending on what it is, that can lead to some difficulty, right? And
Mhm.
if you're a type of person who tends to medicate emotions, which we all can be sometimes
Mhm.
with specific things, that can make those rewards part of the problem, right? So that's part of the challenge. So I love that one. I also like to build in kind of beginning of the day, end of the day, short little things to bring myself back, kind of like 2-minute, things like that. Like
what?
when I'm up in the morning, the breathing thing happens a lot. And I've mentioned this on the show before. Every single day, I walk outside my house barefoot into the grass.
Yes, you have mentioned that.
And I only stand out there for maybe a minute, but I just stand out there in the grass. And some days that's really kind of gross because it's pouring rain or it's wet,
Soggy.
or it's soggy or it's snowy. I'll stand out there in the snow. Other days, like right now, it's nice, right? Because
Mhm.
everything's cool. There might be a little bit of dew on the grass, or it might already be dry, might already even be warm, and it feels good. Doing that every day to kind of connect and get outside, get fresh air, those types of things. I also do a little bit of stretching every morning, kind of get my arms and legs stretched out, get my back
Mhm.
stretched out. I'll do the same thing at the end of the day, and always at the end of the day before I go to bed. I take a few minutes and just kind of breathe, do that body scan. Where am I at? What needs to settle down before I try to go to sleep? Rather than climb into bed and go, I'm restless and I don't know what's going
Right.
on. What's going on? Doing a body scan in bed, because then I'm giving myself this panic, like, you got to go to sleep, got to go to sleep, got to go to sleep. Find the problem, find the problem, find the problem. So trying to
Sure.
make that into a habit, I like to do.
Hmm.
Yeah. What
I
about
like to play with my cat
you? Oh, that's a good one.
because animals are so pure and usually happy, and they're simple creatures.
Mhm.
The simplest things make them so happy,
Mm-hmm.
and they lead a really easy life that sometimes spending time with them is so calming.
Mhm.
And it helps me be so present just to focus on him, particularly my cat Prince. But
Mhm.
there is something about it, like in the morning, and he's all sleepy and tired, and he's just waking up, and I'm like, "Oh, you cute little fluffy thing, you have no stress today."
Mhm.
And then I'm like, "But I'm gonna meet you in that non-stress zone for 5 minutes
Oh man,
and
that's
just give you some attention, and it's
Mhm.
gonna do something for me too."
Yeah, pets are so good that way, right?
Yeah.
That's every single thing we've just described are ways to balance the cortisol stress that we feel with the dopamine, serotonin, those things that are positive to balance us out. So we're not just talking about behavioral balances or balancing things in our head, but taking action that balances out our body chemistry, right, to do this. Because if we feel regulated and calm and balanced in our body, we're going to feel that in our thinking. We're going to be feeling that and experiencing that in our life. We're going to be engaged in more active problem solving, be more intentional. And we tend to think we have to figure all that out in our head and then our bodies can relax. Where actually, if we do it in our bodies first, everything else follows. So I like that one. There's also something to be said for planning out the things that you know you can look forward to.
Yeah.
You know, and doing the fun things like counting them down. I got something fun coming up that I've planned for a little while. My dad and I are taking a trip coming up here in a few weeks.
Oh, where are you going?
A few weeks. We're going down to San Francisco. And we're actually going down for a memorial service for my aunt who passed away a handful of months ago. It's a celebration of life. They've called together whoever in the family from around the country can come. So my dad and I decided we wanted to go.
Okay.
And so we're going down there. I'm going to see some cousins I haven't seen in a while, which will be fun. My sister's going to fly out from Colorado. But then also he and I are going to go to San Francisco and go to a Giants game. He grew up in San Francisco and he hasn't seen the Giants play since I was born.
Oh,
in San Francisco. So he hasn't been to their new stadium, which isn't new anymore. It's been 20 years. And I went there last year for the first time. And I said, I got to bring my dad here. And we made it happen.
So cool.
So we're going to go. Yeah. We actually have matching shirts and everything. It's ridiculous.
I am not surprised.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. Matching Willie Mays shirts.
You'll have to put some photos
But
up.
I will. But the point of it here is that I've been able to look forward to that. And he has as well for several months. And that's just fun because that then I go, yeah, I got that coming up. I could plan for it. I could put off some other things, right? I need to make sure I have the funds for it, have the time for it,
right?
Get everything done. There's something about that that makes the body relax and feel good, planning those things out. So
I think that's really smart.
What
I
else?
have weekends planned to do absolutely nothing.
There you go.
Which is, for somebody, if you know me personally, you know I have a pretty busy, chaotic life.
You do.
And having those moments of peace where it's, I don't know if you want to call it a staycation or whatnot, but where my schedule is not just booked from dawn till dusk with so many things. Sometimes having a day or 2 days or 3 days of nothing on the calendar is incredibly rewarding.
There you go.
It's so refreshing and I sleep so much better. And it's just really calming to be like, okay, I have this entire day and I can do with it whatever I feel is best for me. But it's so rewarding. And I used to feel really guilty of like, well, I need to do something. I need to have plans. I need to book a vacation. And I'm like, only if that's what's good for me. And I decided it's not always. So
that's great.
There you go.
I love it. I love it. See, we're applying these things. And so all of this, everything that Ashley and I have talked about as an example today is a practice. It takes time. It takes intentionality. Sometimes it works well. Sometimes it doesn't. And it's important at the times where maybe you look back and go, oh, that didn't work as well. Okay. Didn't work as well. Or you forgot to do something, or, you know, you went somewhere you didn't want to go. All right. Well, try it again. There's a reason why all these things are practices. So Ashley, I'm going to, over the next week, I'm going to adopt actively your practice of taking a mindful pause in the middle of the things I'm doing. Is this something that's helping me right now, serving me, whatever it is? I'm going to try and notice how many times that happens and what I do with it.
All right.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So.
Well, I feel like I should take on your breathing techniques.
Oh, okay.
I know I have some room for growth in that of taking a deep breath. Whether I'm in a conversation with somebody else and I really need to focus and presence myself, or if I'm feeling all my flustering emotions coming on, big deep breath.
Remember, just spot your breathing first and let it grow. Let it stretch out. There. All right, so you do that, and let's see where we end up.
Okay.
And we would ask all of you to do the same thing. Pick one of these and see how it goes. We'd love to hear how it does go for you. You can reach out to us at stayingpowershow@gmail.com or on our social media feeds that you can find in the show notes wherever you get this podcast, as well as at our radio home, 1150 AM KKNW, our webpage there. Also on our YouTube channel, on Instagram. We're all over the place. And there's more to come. We hope you all have a great week, whatever you're doing. Kids are out of school pretty soon or already. Have a great time. And remember, this is all about blending action and renewal. This isn't about just either checking out or just relentlessly grinding. It's about bringing those things together. We'll be back next week with another episode here on Staying Power. Until then, I am JD.
I'm Ashley.
We will see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.